Okay, should I begin then, and Doug will join us?
Okay, we'll call you in basically whenever we get the meeting on the go there, Sally. Just a few minutes there.
Oh,
We're going to call the meeting to order, and then at the appropriate time, we'll get you on and up and running.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to call this meeting to order. Is there any additions to the agenda? I'll start with Jen. Nope. Brent? Merv?
If council would like, and maybe they've got the information already, I can give you a little update on why track ATVs aren't allowed on the road.
Okay.
It'll be short.
No problem, Merv. Jack?
No additions, no.
Okay. Can I get an approval of the agenda? Jen, seconded by Brent. All in favor? Perfect. Any pecuniary interest or the general nature thereof? Seeing none. Can I get an approval of the minutes for the committee meeting of January 20th, 2021? Jen, seconded by Brent. All in favor? Okay. All right, so we do have a delegation from the Lake Clear Conservancy. Sally, you're up, and now you did have Dr. Doug Smith on standby, or is he?
Yeah, no, he's supposed to be here. He may be having some technical difficulty because, you know, the internet's not great. But I'll just go ahead. He was going to come in a little bit later anyway. So to this, you know, I'm going to speak first, and then he has some things to say. So why don't I just start so we don't fall behind time-wise?
No problem.
Okay?
You have 20 minutes there, Sally.
Okay. So boat decontamination station. I am going to take the liberty of calling it a boat wash because I find that decontamination is a bit of a mouthful. But don't picture a car wash. This isn't the sort of thing that people drive through. They would drive up outside and the boat would be decontaminated. So a word about the LCC first. The Lake Clear Conservancy that's also a mouthful, so we call it the LCC. It was incorporated in 99, became a registered charity in 2000. It is a land trust, and as a land trust, its only mandate is conservation. Land trusts do that by acquiring land and conservation easements and just teaching people good stewardship practices. So I see that, interestingly, the LCC is on the agenda at the bottom for the land use permit island camping report. And I thought that was kind of lucky because we're asking you to get into bed with us on this partnership. And that speaks to the previous partnership and ongoing partnership that we have with BVT, which has been long and successful and has been in effect for 16 years now. So I just want to say a word or two about that because I want you guys to know that we mean what we say, we get things done, and we keep our promises. We had applied for a land use permit because there were a lot of complaints about the campers on the Crown Islands. There were trees cut, there were fires, there was garbage left, there was feces left sometimes. So BVT stepped in and offered to hold the land use permit for insurance purposes and allow the LCC to steward the islands. We built 7 designated campsites on 3 islands. We built tent platforms and privies and fire pits, set up a registration system so campers would be accountable, handed out guidelines for leave no trace camping. And now all of that is online and we administer that. So it's been a very successful partnership benefiting all 3 parties. The MNR is real happy because the islands are in pristine condition. They had a tour 3 years ago. I think BVT is happy because you're no longer getting crabby phone calls from people who are complaining about the campers. And we're happy because it's conservation and the islands are looking lovely and healthy. So today we're here to ask about a partnership related to a boat wash. So aquatic invasive species, and invasive is the right word because they have invaded. They have come to Canada on boats in droplets of water and bilge water and so on and so forth. And once they're in Ontario, because they're out of their original ecosystem, they just take over. They have no natural predators, so they just take over the environment that they're in. You have on your outline that was handed out, I think everybody has that, the outline of this presentation.
Yep.
Yep, there's a picture of Eurasian water milfoil. So take a good look at that. If that's what the surface of a lake looked like, I don't think you'd want to go for a swim. You wouldn't take your boat in because it would damage the motor, and you certainly wouldn't want to buy a property on a lake that looked like that. So this is a real and immediate threat. Eurasian milfoil is already in 2 local lakes that I know anyway. I mean, there could be others, but I know White Lake and Lake are already have this Eurasian water milfoil. All the local lakes here have zebra mussels, but there are many, many invasive species in Ontario. There's one called starry stonewort, which is already in lakes this side of Peterborough, forms a green mush. It grows on a sandy bottom and it forms a very unpleasant green mush that nobody really wants to step on. So the urgency is, and we'd like to have a boat wash up and running by May, is that it only takes 1 boat. You know, these things hitchhike, they cling to the side, they're in the water on the boat. It only takes 1 boat to bring this to a lake, and then, you know, it's off and running. So now this is where Doug was going to talk about some of the other aquatic invasive species, but if you'll take my word for it, that there are lots of them, and they're in Ontario, so it's only a matter of time before they get passed around. So the partnership that we're asking for, here's what the LCC would contribute to this partnership. We've done some research, and we estimate that the boat decontamination station that's drawn on your outline would cost about $18,000. We would raise the money for that. The LCC is a registered charity. The folks would get a tax receipt for their donations, and we will undertake to raise that money. We would provide volunteers to help man the station during busy times. And by busy times, I mean fishing derbies. We would provide training for volunteers and staff, as well as educational materials for boaters and lake users in general. We've already spoken to the owner of the Opiongo Mountain Resort. Most of the boats at Lake Clear, anyway, are launched from there. That's where all the fishing derbies launch. And she understands the seriousness of the problem, and she's concerned, and she has offered her cooperation. So that's really important because a lot of boats are launched from OMR. So what we are seeking from you is a location and a summer student. The summer student would not be very busy most of the time, except during fishing derbies, at which time we would help. The location would need a water supply and a power supply. And I think if it were located in the Eaganville area, it could be used for our lake, Golden Lake, Mink Lake, And anybody even passing through on the way to Algonquin Park could use the facility as well. So it would be a great boon to the whole area. So what's in it for the two partners, you and us? I mean, for us, it's a no-brainer. It's conservation, where, you know, our mission is to protect the lakes, so that's what's in it for us. For BVT, I think what's in it for you is a healthy economy, because fishermen and cottagers and tourists and campers all come to this area, and they come for the water bodies. And I think the merchants in the area rely on that extra business. Cottagers pay high taxes, and taxes are linked to property values. So if property values were to plummet, that would have a very negative effect on the local economy. Also, people coming through to use the facility, you know, they come to town, they need stuff, a case of beer or a load of groceries or whatever, so it would bring more business into the town. So that's the first thing, is economic benefits. The second thing is, as Doug was going to say in his presentation, I mean, he's looked into who's doing what about this invasive species thing. And what he has found is that some states and provinces have very strict laws relating to this. They have inspections. You know, you have to get your boat decontaminated before you go into another water body. Ontario has nothing. So you would really be on the leading edge, and you would be celebrated by all the groups I just mentioned: cottagers, fishermen, campers, anyone who uses a lake or likes looking at a lake. You would be celebrated by environmental groups, and the Environment Ministry and the MNR, and townships all over the place would be looking to you for this example. So I think that based on the research of the LCC, we've come up with a design that's on your paper. You've had a look at it. And, you know, I think it's, if we can find a place to put it, I think it's a no-brainer. So now Doug's going to answer all your technical questions about the actual decontamination station, which is based on a shipping container. Jennifer, can you hear me?
Jen, you have a
Sorry,
question?
I was waiting for the chair to call on me, Sally. If I may, Mr. Chair.
Oh, sorry.
That's fine. Go ahead there, Jen.
So
I didn't push down on my space bar hard enough there.
No worries. Thank you. Just a couple of things. So when we received this, I did, you know, go on a little internet search. At the outset of your presentation, you said this isn't like a car wash. But what I found in my research, I was trying to find a way to pay electricity. There's Doug coming. Dr. Doug is coming in now there. But there seems to be decontamination stations that actually do use the carbon where it's pay per use. So you put in your $5 and you spray your boat down. Is that something that you guys have considered? Because our one of the apps was for a water supply and for electricity. So I was just wondering if that was something that you were thinking about. Thank you.
We did think about it, but it would be, I think, a lot more expensive, and it would require a very high structure. Because, you know, when the boats come in on a trailer, some of them are quite high and large.
Okay, I just came on.
And there's Doug.
Oh,
Okay, Jack. I see we have.
So we just felt like this would be more practical, less expensive, and just easier to assemble, to keep the boats outside.
Sorry, I was more referring to a fee for service. a nominal fee to utilize this?
Oh, sure. Yes.
Sorry, I should have made that more clear.
Yeah. No, I think that's certainly not out of the question. I mean, I didn't bring it up today because, first and foremost, we need a location, right? But I don't see any reason why there couldn't be a fee charge like a car wash. It would help to reimburse the LCC expenses, and it would help reimburse the township expenses.
Okay,
Sorry,
Jack.
That is something we could certainly discuss.
I-
Now, Doug,
Yeah.
Go ahead there, Jack. Jack's got the floor there. Just 1 second there,
Yeah.
Sally and Doug.
sorry.
The only thing I'd like to comment on is if we were talking about putting a user fee or whatever, there is really no way to police this. We're banking on the users, the fishermen, the people that are traveling from lake to lake, that we're banking on them trying to do what's good for the lake. I think you'd have far more people being compliant if there was no fee. That's all, because anytime you start putting a fee in, people to try to get around from doing this, and we really have no way to police this. It's almost impossible to police. That's my feeling on it anyway.
I can tell you that, can I speak?
Yes, go ahead there, Doug.
Yeah, I can tell you that in other jurisdictions, I apologize for being late at this meeting, Sally. I hung you out, but I just now got the invitation. I had to phone the township office to let them know that I had not yet received an invitation to the meeting. So anyway, I apologize. In other jurisdictions, there are no fees. This is it's a free service, and so I'm not sure exactly where Sally left off, but I can tell you that other jurisdictions are really addressing this problem, and I'll speak to the United States and Western Canada, for instance. The issue of invasive species was originally, and had been for many years, an eastern issue and a Great Lakes issue. And now that has changed. Western Canada and the Western United States are aggressively implementing clean, drain, dry programs and supporting those programs with mandatory inspection programs. So as an example, in Canada, from Manitoba, this is Canada, from Manitoba to BC, these provinces have several permanent inspection stations at US and provincial borders. As an example, I know Alberta and BC both have over a dozen permanent stations. You're required by law to stop, report, and have your watercraft inspected, be it a boat, canoe, or paddleboard. Failure to do so is followed with citations, fines, and possible quarantining of watercraft. Manitoba, for example, has even gone further. They have divided the province into 6 zones. If you travel with your watercraft from one zone to another, you're required to meet the clean, drain, dry requirements. The same's happening all over the eastern seaboard in the United States, and as I say, other provinces in Canada are addressing this issue. And to date, I haven't found any information in Ontario's literature on inspection and decontamination stations. So I think I caught Sally, my wife had the meeting up on her phone a bit, and I caught Sally talking about how Monashire Valley Township could be a leader. Absolutely. We jointly, the LCC and yourselves, could not only be the leader, but also, like an instruction platform, information platform and whatnot for other municipalities and townships in the province of Ontario. This could be very exciting, and Monashire Valley Township could be basically a beacon of hope for stopping and slowing down the spread of invasive species in Ontario. That's I don't know whether you actually got to talk about invasive species. I mean, I could do that a bit, but I Did you get, Sally, I apologize again. Did you get to the actual picture of the unit and stuff like that?
We haven't discussed the details of the unit. We were just discussing whether or not there should be a charge for the service.
Right, we
so-
discussed that, and yeah, and as I say,
Yeah, but I just
no other
wanted to
jurisdictions, even in Canada, are charging.
Are they,
No,
they are or not?
are not. And the
Okay,
budget, I know the budget, for instance, in, sorry. in
one
Alberta-
question for myself there,
Yes,
guys.
sir.
Since you say it's a lot of the derbies that are generating the lake to lake to lake, could you not make it a prerequisite to have these people attending these derbies to show that they've washed their boats
Well, I can.
prior
yeah,
to, or the derby organizers, and
can-
start with that?
Sure.
You know, just as a kind of a recommendation, you know, to your derby folk and stuff, if that is the main cause of what you understand is transferring invasive species from lake to lake. I know we're at the end of our 20-minute delegation here right now.
Oh,
I
that
don't know
went
if there's
fast.
any other questions from council. Go ahead there, Jen.
Thank
I,
you, Chair. And thanks so much to Sally and Doug for this information. I think this is something that council is going to have to discuss. And I see Daryl is just on now. But Daryl is sort of if we were going to move ahead with something like this, he's our man. So if, since the delegation is at the end, can I ask committee to table this to the next agenda, and we can have a chat and bring Daryl in? Would that be okay with everybody?
Daryl would be
I'm
the
fine with
person.
that.
Thank you.
Brent, I see Brent had
Sure.
one question before we scoot along there. Brent?
Perfect. No, it's definitely invasive species are definitely a big problem in our area and surrounding. I think really it comes down to like the pay per use. Am I in agreement of the pay per use like a standard car wash or not? I think either way, it would be like the water users that would end up paying for it. I guess there'd be some way to monitor it, no different than how the splash pad is set up. So neighboring townships utilize the splash pad, but it's the township as a whole that's paying towards the water users for up at Legion Field. So I guess if we weren't going the direction of the car wash, we would have to monitor it that way, even though the consumption might not be that high. You might not have a lot of frequency of boats, but I think that's just a service to the water and sewer users, especially since people are coming out of the area as well. I guess the other question I have is just, is there a way before us passing this on to Daryl, if we are able to have a breakdown of that 18,000 of like where exactly like everything's coming from, just a more breakdown, because I saw it as a general figure just on like what's designated for, say, the water sewer hookup, the electrical, the power washer, kind of just some more specifics, just because like any project you always want the details, and then obviously like conversations on like the life expectancy of like, say, the power washer and things of that nature. But I agree with Jen. I think I do like the idea of a drive-through station. So possibly look at that, but that's obviously, it's not my presentation, and obviously Daryl will have the best idea. So that's just my thoughts.
Okay, yeah, I think we can send you that information, Brent. I think that's a great question. And I think, Doug, you might already have it. So we will get that to you in time for your next discussion. And I think, you know, details like, do we charge or don't we charge? And, you know, there are good reasons for both, really, are things we will discuss, you know, once we're all on board. And as we proceed, we'll discuss those details.
Yeah,
So until again, thank you so much for having us. Oh,
Thank you very much, Sally, and thank you for showing up there too, Doug.
well, thank you for the opportunity. I apologize again for, you know, the fact I I didn't get on right at the beginning, but anyway, I have all sorts of information. I'm happy to share it with any of you at any time and discuss the stuff in detail. And yeah, we'd be very happy to, if we could strike a partnership with the township and move forward on this. I think it would be great for not only Bonnechere Valley Township, but for surrounding townships in the whole province. I really think that's, you would be the leaders for sure. That's,
Thank you very much for your time.
anyway, thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Okay. So we're going to move along here. Daryl, if you can, we're a little bit behind here, but if you want to.
That's okay.
Go ahead with your report there, Daryl.
Hello, everybody. Things are going okay at the water plant. We've got our first set of quarterly samples gone in. Our yearlies are done. Our reports are well underway. They'll definitely be coming to council next meeting. Other than that, we're working on the drinking water license, and that's pretty much it there. The sewage is going all right. We had got a new pump into one of the digesters, but that's it. That's it. We got a new chlorine analyzer installed yesterday also. So.
Jen has a question for you.
Yes, thank you. Daryl, I'm not sure if you just heard the delegation. We can certainly get you the information. It was about a boat decontamination station in the village somewhere. I just wondered, just in case council decides to go, they would like to have this up and running by May. So that's a pretty quick turnaround. So if we were going to go forward, if you could just think of somewhere that water supply and electrical supply, where this could go in the village, just so that we're armed with everything we need. Thank you.
Okay.
And Annette, if we could maybe send all that information and the information that Brent just requested from the delegation.
Okay, any other questions for Daryl? Oh, okay, thanks, Daryl.
Thank you.
We're moving right along here, and if you're ready to go there, Jason, I think the rest of us are too.
Hello, everyone. Excuse me. So to start things off, our surplus equipment is definitely moving out. The 2000 float has been picked up. The 1996 has been picked up, and the 2002 should be going at the end of this week or start of next week. We have also had some interest in the 2008, so hopefully things go good there. Number two, the C&D grinding and snowdrifters site has been completed, and the brush at Sand Road was also completed earlier in January. We had a contractor come in and do some spray foaming at the Foymount garage. This is a excuse me, been a big improvement with the wind coming in, insulating it off, sealing it up. So hopefully this is good for the future. We've also been doing some prep work at the Spring Creek yard. We have a good location. It's flat. It's right on bedrock, limestone bedrock. The engineer would have to see the base to do a final prep, what has to be done for footings and walls on a new sand shed. Anyone have any questions so far?
Seeing none there, Jason.
All right. We have cleared some trees also at the northwest corner of the property, just to give us a little more area. We're finding that any surplus fill, we try and keep it so that it can be reused You know, it's kind of a central location for the township. And, you know, it just comes in handy sometimes where we need some extra fill. There also was a fair amount of wood that we cut off the lot. There's like a mixture of hardwood, or not hardwood, but pine, spruce, cedar. And we have an interested party that would like to put a bid in on it. I have also hired a new operator on a contract position for the winter. And that is it for me.
One question there, Jason, for myself. The wood now, is it cut into length, or is it just in the form of a tree, or how, do you have any idea of the footage?
It's log length, Tim.
Okay.
And I did have a scaler come in and he gave me a rough estimate what's there for length, you know. But that contractor was not interested in picking it up. It wasn't enough for him.
Okay, no, and that's all I wanted to know, is if you had a general idea of the amount, you know, going into it. So if you have an offer, you kind of know what's acceptable and what's not.
Yes, yes, for sure.
Okay, any other questions for Jason? No, seeing none. We're a little bit ahead of schedule now. I don't see Dave in the waiting room anywhere. Is he, Annette? No?
I did
Did
send
you-
him, I did send him a text, but I don't know if you want to move ahead to,
I was going to go ahead to correspondence A. And I'm looking at Jen smiling a little bit. Did you want to touch on that, Jen?
No, I just wanted to say the chief probably won't be in until his designated time. Unfortunately, one of our mechanics had a heart attack on Saturday. And so it's been a tough few days. So I just wanted to give an explanation. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Okay, Merv?
I'm just musing here. Of all of my years on council, I've never seen so much correspondence as you're coming across now. It must be COVID.
So nothing else on correspondence A? Anything on correspondence B of interest from anybody want to add to or talk to about? Jack? You're muted, Jack.
Sorry about that. So as far as the last correspondence that we got from the Lake Clear, that's basically, that's just more or less information only, correct? Are they're not really looking for anything from us, I don't believe. It's information only, okay.
Okay. Did anybody else have anything to add on correspondence B? No. Moving along to the mayor's report. If you feel like stepping up for now for that, Jen. Have a good day, Jason.
Yeah, that would be great. Would you mind if I just blew my nose? I just caught a sneeze and it's hurt and it's sore. Hang on, give me
You
one.
should not be doing that on camera.
I know.
Anyway, turn off your video.
Ah, that's much better. Sorry about that, guys.
No
In the
problem.
middle of Jason's report, all of a sudden I couldn't breathe. All right. So in the month of January, I attended 24 meetings on council and county business. I've given you a bit of a briefing on some of them. So I'm just going to go back and touch on some of the ones that I didn't get to because time was short last meeting. So January 6th, Eaganville and Area Community Development Group meeting. The fishing dock, they're waiting on a property search, but it's looking good. They want to do some fundraising through Facebook and some virtual fundraising, which is great news. Obviously, we know that right now it's pretty tough to hold a fundraiser. So the Shop Local campaign was a serious success, and they thank Dana profusely for featuring some of our businesses on our social media. They had like over 300 likes, loves, all of that on Facebook. That the mural is going in as soon as possible on Dave Kruger's business. It should be quite stupendous. It's 12 by 8 feet. So I see Dave is coming on. Do you want me to stop, Chair, and let him do his report?
If time is of the essence for Dave, with going back to work, I don't mind doing that, Jen, or
Okay.
if you want to wait for his time. If the chief needs to get back to something there, I don't mind doing it if you're comfortable with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I can just pause there for a minute. Thank you.
And if the chief is best for time, I don't mind letting him go ahead.
I'm good.
Okay, if you want to go. Yeah, you're good to go there. Everybody is anxiously awaiting you.
Okay. The sound coming back this way is not very good. I'm not sure what that's about, but if you can hear me, okay, that's great.
Yeah, you're a little gurgly, Tim. So I don't know. Do you want me to put you in the waiting room and then bring you back quickly?
Me or Dave?
You, Tim. Yeah.
Oh, I'm getting crackly. I don't know what's going on, or is it still bad or not so bad?
It's still bad. I'm just going to pop you in the waiting room and bring you right back in 2 seconds. See if that helps.
Go ahead.
Okay. He's back now?
Everything good to go?
That's better.
Perfect. Thanks.
Okay, great. Okay, so fire department report for this month. As last month, with the emergency orders in place, we were given advice from the fire marshal's office to pause in-person training for the time being until we see the state of the emergency orders. So that's what we've done. We've done a lot of extra online training this month, which has worked out really well. We managed to get some of the provincially mandated training other than fire department done within the fire department, which is good. Stuff that's been long overdue. So good opportunity to get that done. One more drone pilot, myself in the mix now for our drone program. And I have a couple of more that are going to be taking the certification course. And I'd like to have, at least a dozen in the department, if possible. It's a cheap course. It's $10 for certification, and you go on Transport Canada's website. If you knock the test off, do the studying, and it's a cheap way to at least be compliant with Transport Canada when we're using our drone. So that worked out well. Month of January has been very slow for us, which is good. I think some of our messaging, or a lot of our messaging from our social media and our home, inspections and whatnot is starting to pay off. We've had, very little as far as, any kind of urgent matters that are requiring the fire department this month. So I'm happy to see that. I know other municipalities aren't as fortunate. They've been running pretty hard with chimney fires and other in-home type emergencies. And hats off to Bonnechere Valley. We had a very safe month of January. So happy to see that. That's great. So over and above our usual stuff here, I wanted to talk about, I did send the extrication agreement with North Algona Wilberforce. They had one sentence they wanted to add to section 4.1, which was this action will be at the discretion of the Bonnechere Valley Response or Scene Command. So the previous, if anybody, I don't know if everybody's read it, but the previous statement was if we get a call when we're on our way, we're to turn around and go back to our own township to service our ratepayers. North Algona thought it would be good to add this would be at the discretion of somebody. So if it was, you know, rating something as a 1 going to North Algona, or say it's a 5 in North Algona and a 1 in Bonnechere Valley, we could figure out how to do them both without turning around and just abandoning the call altogether. So, you know, it's something we would do anyway, but I think they wanted it in writing just to make everybody feel better. So if everybody's good with that, and council agrees to pass this bylaw, I'm not sure the timing when North Algona Wilberforce will actually come online with heavy extrication, but once I get the paperwork from council, then I have to go to the CAC Center, and they have to make changes as well with dispatch. So yeah, I would imagine within, you know, I'm not sure if council passes it this round or is it the next council meeting. So whenever that happens, they'll be able to go online. The next thing, the Fire Marshal's Webex meeting that we had on January 13th. It was a long meeting, and the big takeaway from all the fire chiefs that were on it, apparently the majority of the fire chiefs in the province were on it. It was split up into 2 different timeframes. Excuse me. The big takeaway, the big news was the fire college closing. So I did receive a communique from the Ontario Association of Fire Chiefs directly after that, stating that they had no idea that this was happening and they were not consulted. There was no heads up with any of the stakeholders in the fire service in Ontario that they were actually going to close it. It was just something that had happened. So the Ontario Association of Fire Chiefs subsequently had another meeting with the fire marshal's office, and the takeaway was that it's kind of smells like the certification plan of the last government, where there was a decision made with absolutely no way to implement it, really sign of how they were going to make this happen and how they're going to make it work. So I have a meeting. The fire chiefs are split up into zones in the province. So tomorrow we're in zone 6. I have a zone 6 meeting with the OAFC to talk about it. So all the zones in the province are getting together this week to talk about a response back to the fire marshal's office. Bottom line is that they're taking away something that, you know, if we send people there, it's $65 a course. The real cost of that course is $1,300. They haven't said what they're going to do. They've talked about regional training centers, but there isn't a firm plan in place to equip the training centers, to fund the training centers, and we kind of want to know as an organization, where's the subsidy money going? If they're taking it away from, you know, the college, can they give it to the regional training centers and when we send somebody to training, make it cheaper? Right now, it's pretty expensive to send people away. So I was enrolled in a course, you know, after the fire college closed, and it was $1,500. I didn't go because of COVID, but it would have been $65 at the college. It was $1,500 in the private sector. So that didn't happen, but you know, that's just that's the struggle now is to find the money and the place to do it. We don't have a close regional training center either. So they claim that they're going to be looking at areas where there's a gap and maybe putting a training center in. And this area is definitely one of them. We have to travel long and far, and you know, I pay people to stay overnight, pay people hourly to be at these courses. You know, the last group I sent was down in Port Hope for training, so it's not cheap. So anyway, I'll come back with a report to council after the meeting that I have tomorrow, like for next month, I guess now, and I'll have more of a position on where the Association of Fire Chiefs is with this, and if there's any questions. Some councils have written letters that I've seen in the paper or passed resolutions against this. I don't know if there's enough information yet do that, to really to put something together to pass a resolution to send it to the province yet. I'd like to see, you know, the fire marshal's response to, you know, what they get from the regional zones of fire chiefs, because they still have, there's a response period, and I think it's fair to let them respond to our concerns before, you know, a letter is sent out. But you know, that's just me. Moving on, the Foymount, I did meet the contractor in Foymount. We looked at the building inside and out and tried to come up. I think he's come up with a way to add another roof line to it. So sort of like a half truss. So to push the roof line out into the driveway as to, you know, where you come in when you drive up to Foymount. He's going to have the engineer have a look at that outside wall. For those that you've been there, like the wall where the man door is, the front door is, to see if that is suitable to bear the load of a new truss system. He thinks it is because it's steel beams in there, so it shouldn't be an issue. So once we have, you know, the go ahead that yes, this is doable, then we're going to get we'll get an estimate together as to what it's going to cost, and it's literally going to be probably a drive-in, drive-out, a drive-through bay added on, and then we can open it up by taking down some of the exterior walls now to make it a walkthrough, so that it's all heated by the same heating system, so we don't have to have two separate heating systems in there. But anyway, that's for the future. But the contractor does think it's doable. It's just a matter of the engineer giving the blessing and then coming up with a plan for it. So.
Well, if I can remember correctly there, Dave, it's almost built like a bunker. So
yes,
I'm sure that them walls that are steel beamed big, I think that there should be not much of a doubt of strength in that wall.
I hope they come back with that, because I think that's the most cost effective way to do it, and making the building bigger as opposed to a separate building that you have to have separate utilities for and whatnot. He's also going to, like we talked about before, he's going to look into the drainage system up there and see if we can do something, you know, reasonably cheap as far as restoring the drain on the one side and adding a drain to the second, so that we're able to wash trucks, because, you know, we all know salt's a killer, and if we don't have a drain up there, it's pretty hard to keep vehicles clean. So that's been a challenge over the years for sure. But the nice thing about that outside wall as well is that those used to be bay doors. So we can take those bay doors down and have almost an open air between the addition and the existing. So I think it'll help with heating costs and whatnot. So
fantastic.
Yeah. But apart from that, I think that's all I've got. I will definitely get back with more of a report, structured report about where we're going after the Association of Fire Chiefs meeting. And about, I would imagine the fire marshal will be back to us before next council. He's usually pretty quick about coming back with answers and stuff like that. So, in a plan. So we'll see. I'll have something for next council for sure.
Thanks, Dave. Any questions for Dave? No, everything is good. Thanks, Dave. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Okay, Mayor Murphy.
Take two.
You don't need any Kleenex or anything like that. You're good to go.
I'm okay, but I did sneeze again.
I seen that.
I don't know whether
be careful with that stuff.
It must be the dust bunnies in my house. All right, so back to our community development group. The other thing that was of great importance is that they sent letters to all the previous donors about other projects that those monies could be used, and they've gotten really, really good feedback. They're going to try and reenact the Discover Eaganville little newspaper communications. There was an idea about using bulletin boards at grocery, gas station, Conway parking lot, Melissa Bishop Park, the information board with maps. So that's sort of a new endeavor that we're looking into. Again, the Shop Local campaign, they couldn't say enough of, so yay for Dana and her initiative. All right, so on January 7th, as you guys know, we did have this mental health initiative. Unfortunately, and I have been in contact with Debbie at the Leader, there was a bit of confusion in the media that it was a county initiative, because we had initially called it the Renfrew County Mental Health Initiative. And so later on in my report, because we have had our second meeting, I'll give you an update on that. Some of the, as you know, some of the stats are just staggering, not only in our area, but all over, especially right now. So I'm gonna leave that meeting there, because I do have an update, of course. January 8th, I already told you I had a Board of Health meeting. January 12th, state of emergency. Okay, January 13th, we had our health committee meeting. So we are doing a paramedic palliative care program. This is for a trial of 6 months. So much like our VTAC, our paramedicine program, this is another initiative that our paramedic service is rolling out, because we do know that we have an enormous waiting list of people that are at home, either waiting on long-term care or in palliative care. So I will report back. I think we'll probably get either monthly or bi-monthly reports on this. So I will make sure I keep you up to date. There was also almost $6,000 raised by the Ladies Auxiliary of the Legions for DFibs to be used in some of our nonprofits. I don't know if you guys remember or not, we actually were the beneficiaries of one at the curling club. So it's clubs like that you know, you really want them in the facility. So these initiatives of fundraising are so fantastic. Renfrew County VTAC still needs advocacy. During the Roma conference, we could not have said RC VTAC more. But if there's anybody out there watching and you've used our VTAC, could you please send a letter to the county? We will get it to Minister Elliott, Minister and the Premier. All right, and as you all know, we now have community paramedics for long-term care, which is 100% funded through the province. It was pretty exciting. When we first got this news, we were one of 5 in the province that got $1 million to March 31st, and then $2 million per year for the next 3 years. As it is right now, they went back to the Treasury Board. There are 29 additional community paramedics for long-term care programs to start April 1st of this year, and it is based on the Renfrew County model. So again, kudos to our amazing paramedic service. One of the questions that I asked our chief was, you know, how are we going to roll this out with our very limited paramedic service? He said it's so that people on the waiting list that are high needs, they should be going to long-term care. 60% they will be able to help right away, and 20% would be on a watch list just to monitor their progress. The intake process is going to be very interesting, and I will give you more of an update on that, because I do have a question mark here. Will it go through primary care, the emergency management system, through VTAC, a 1-800 number? So there's still some questions to be answered there. So the other program that is being bandied about, and everybody knows about the issues with our offload delays in some of our hospitals, where if a paramedic brings a patient in and they're not admitted right away or brought in by a nurse, the paramedic and the ambulance actually have to stay there until that patient is accepted. So one of the ideas was a secondment of a paramedic in emergency, initially at Pembroke Regional Hospital. They were still in discussions. Of course, there's always concerns about unions and everything else, and this is an unknown. But the idea was that this might help if there was a paramedic there, that they could take the patient. The paramedic that's in the AMBO could leave and tend to patients that need them. All long-term care in Renfrew County as at November 2020 was 1,484. There were 0 cases in Miramichi Lodge. And Bonashir Manor. They had no visitors except 2 essential caregivers, and staff are tested every week. Our director of long-term care, Shelley Sheedy at the county, has done just an incredible job with her staff of keeping ourselves safe. We've applied for some grants for HVAC at the manor, humidification at the lodge. Obviously HVAC, huge big deal right now. We were told that when we get vaccines, they will be voluntary. They will not be mandatory. And we're hoping to utilize, to roll out vaccines, our community paramedicine, hospitals, primary care, nurse practitioners, and VTAC. So we will we'll hope for the best on those. January 14th, Finance and Admin Committee. We were talking about our challenges with the accessible website. Some of our, it's a long and convoluted story, but some of our things that we are mandated to have on our website, and we'll deal with this in Bonashir Valley as well. Sometimes it's very difficult to upload them. So we're looking into that. Unfortunately, our insurance at the county was up 21% this year, which we talked about in budget yesterday and found a way to fund it. There's some health unit stuff going on. Their request is for 1.7 million from the providers, which is about 8.5% higher than 2020. We've directed the warden to ask for clarification, whether this is for COVID-related issues or programs. And we did a prep for budget because we did a new format. The new format is very much the way we do it in Bonashir Valley, where it's a living document. And I will get into that later. Obviously, you were all in the emergency control group meeting. The vaccine rollout on January 14th, unfortunately changed the very next day because of delays with Pfizer. I did an Ask Mayor Murphy County budget review. January 20th, we had a meeting with Steve Clark and Lisa McLeod about the influencer campaign. I'm not sure what kind of uptake this is getting at this time. It didn't seem to go as viral as I think we were hoping. All right, January 25th, I went to Roma virtually. Ford announced that our OCIF of 200 million will continue this year. And again, broadband and cell are top of the list. Minister Elliott very thankfully said that there would be a major investment in mental health, reimbursing paramedic service for COVID expenses, which was extremely important at the county level. And at the Ministers Forum, I got to ask a question of Monty McNaughton. And that question was, an opportunity exists following the COVID-19 challenges to encourage the uptake of remote services. Will your ministry invest in digital infrastructure, training of teachers, healthcare and other professionals, and in technology to support an increase in digital tools, remote services, and resiliency in rural areas? And I'm not sure if Annette can verify this, but I think Monty won the pen for shortest answer. Is that correct? The pen.
I don't know, but that's possible. Yes.
Yes. So his answer was yes. So that was thankful. And on that day, there were a lot of questions about broadband, a lot of questions. And on the first day, I had the honor of meeting with Minister Steve Clark, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing. It was actually 2 delegations with him. One of them was about reporting and the overburden of reporting from the municipalities. You know, we do at least 422 reports every year. So the idea now is that if we participated, so if we got AMO perhaps to put together a task force and have the province send us the reports, could we assist the province in saying, these could be consolidated, these could be eliminated, these are important. And Minister Clark seemed to enjoy that idea. The other ask, of course, was always, as it always is, municipal funding, continuing COVID relief, the OCIF, which the Premier had said that morning, CIP funding for investment in local businesses. You know, I always ask about AMO's local share initiative, which she doesn't like, but gotta ask. If you don't ask, you don't get. And I think that both of those delegations with Minister Clark went very, very, very well. It's always a pleasure to see him. Unfortunately, I had given him a G'day toque a few years ago, and he didn't wear it, but he apologized for not wearing it. So always a pleasure to see him. I did go to a plenary on the community safety and well-being plans in anticipation that the following day I would be meeting with the Solicitor General, Sylvia Jones. So that was very interesting. That particular plenary included the police chief of Peel Region and the amount of players that sit around that community safety and well-being plans table. I'll get into the meeting with the minister in just a minute here. The plenary was a bit shocking. On the second day of Roma, Minister Clark announced $40 million for more modernization funding. The partnership fund is staying, thank God. As we all know, that is $1.5 million worth of our budget. And they will be investing $1 billion in broadband. They will continue the safe restart. And then there was a ministers forum the second day, and Annette and I we couldn't believe it. We were actually texting back and forth. I managed to get a second question into the ministers forum on the second day, which is unheard of. So the question was to Lisa Thompson, the Minister of Government and Consumer Services. MFIPA is 30 years old. It has not kept up with cost, technology, or retention processes. The cost to municipalities is significant when repeat requesters can request mountains of information, putting hundreds of requests to be delivered by such outdated means as paper or CDs. The information may no longer be available, but municipalities still incur legal bills to prove we no longer have it in accordance with our retention bylaws. In a time of municipal modernization, will your ministry be reviewing this outdated legislation? And in actual fact, Minister Thompson had a meeting with Madawaska Valley and with AMTCO earlier that day, and or the day before, and they have actually put together now an ad hoc committee to review MFIPA going forward. So that is great news. I attended a community paramedicine plenary session on cost savings to the healthcare system. Also sat in on a vaccine information plenary and a plenary on implicit bias, which was very well received and very well attended. On the second day of Roma, I did have a meeting, as I said earlier, with Sylvia Jones, the Solicitor General for the province of Ontario, about community safety and well-being plans. I will say that we will agree to disagree. Unfortunately, when this was first rolled out, again, it was supposed to be an OPP initiative. And the idea that we were first presented with that would be that this would actually have a reduction in 911 calls. That seems to be taken off the table. This sounds at this point, and Annette can chime in here. This now sounds like a data mining process in order to filter funds to different places that they need it, i.e. mental health initiatives. I did very cheekily, again, in the briefing document put in, when you phone 911, you get police, ambulance, or fire. You don't get police, ambulance, fire, or mental health. So something needs to give there. January 27th, I had County Council, Dr. Cushman, our acting chief medical officer, did a delegation about our vaccine rollout. At that point, we had only had one case in 7 days. Unfortunately, we did have a couple of days or 3 days maybe with 2 cases. We're still in very good shape, and Dr. Cushman thanked everyone for following the lockdown and still wearing their masks and washing hands and staying home. So that's amazing. Okay, so on January 28th, we had our second mental health initiative, and we welcomed our new coordinator, Ian Groslig. He really hit the ground running. He had been on the job for 4 days. He had already started a social media and media presence, compiling lists of resources for mental health, information packages for medical offices, and he had already set up some meetings to go forward. Again, due to a bit of confusion, we have changed the name now to the RRMHAI, which is the Remote and Rural Mental Health and Addiction Initiative. We realized that in our previous iteration, we hadn't done addiction. And as we know right now, there is the Canadian Cancer Society program, and you can download the app. It's called Going Dry for February, which I think is a great campaign. And there's no shaming. They're just saying, the more you can go dry, the better. So that's one of our initiatives. We've got Tyreman and Daughters did some in-kind training to get in, as WMIS and all that important stuff. Alan Studd, our retired psychotherapist, talked about veteran families and well-being funds, and whether we could have a therapist and a student set up at the office, maybe from Algonquin College, perhaps a partnership with the Royal for a center of excellence, perhaps a satellite of the Pembroke Operation Wellbeing. We talked about anonymity, is not only with our general population, but also with our veterans. And apparently anonymity is very important. So having a program like this outside of, say, Pembroke or Petawawa, and coming to Eaganville or Bonachir Valley, where you're not necessarily going to be noted, was very important, apparently. We talked about a laptop for Ian, but apparently it's being taken care of, which is wonderful. Our next meeting is Monday, February 22nd. At that point, we will have a terms of reference, which I will be able to present. But I think for, something that was stood up so quickly with just not too many people, I think it's going very, very, very well. And I'm certainly hopeful that this will help with all of our mental health and addiction needs sooner rather than later. And yesterday, it was county budget day. We did get through it in a day, albeit it was 7.5 hours. And I heard from the media that some of them watched the entire thing. So God love you for doing that. It was a long day, but a fruitful day. And we landed at 2.5% on the levy. with an additional 1.08 in current weighted assessment, which is very good news for the residents of Renfrew County. That's approximately $9 on every $100,000 worth of assessment. And at that, Mr. Chair, I'm going to take a breath and thank you for your indulgence. And if there are any questions, I'll take them at this time.
Jack, I see you got a question.
Yeah, you're saying there, Jen, you're saying they're talking about major strides with the broadband. What are they actually doing, or what are their plans for the
Jack,
broadband? Like, there's one thing to talk, but do they actually have something firm in place?
thank you for asking that. So they talk about the EORN project and the SWIFT project, right? But we've been hearing about these projects over and over and over and over again. And one of the things that we're missing in this equation is the contribution by the feds. And that's frustrating in itself. But it's funny that you're bringing it up, because I said in our meeting, you know, these telcos are going to miss the boat, because Starlink is now emailing people all over Eastern Ontario saying, we will deliver your equipment, try it out. So I think, you know, now I have not tried Starlink, obviously, but I could certainly see this being the future as opposed to fiber or towers. So you just asked the exact same question I asked, because if we're not building towers or putting in fiber right now, Starlink is going to get ahead of all the telcos, including the small ISPs, which is kind of sad for them. So I hope that helps.
Well, the thing about Starlink, I've heard good and bad about it, so I really don't know where it's at, or, you know, and until amount of people actually use it, and to see the time delay and everything else associated with it. But until they draw a line in the sand somewhere and start putting some money forward or whatever, they can talk all they want. If they don't want to move this forward and you know, have a little part of moving it forward, it's really not going to move very quick. That's my feeling anyways. So
a few people reported on some of their friends that have been using Starlink as close as Greater Madawaska, in fact. And apparently the speeds are incredible. However, we haven't had a significant weather event since that particular person. The other challenge with Starlink, of course, is the upfront costs of about $800. So that could be, you know, that could be problematic for some people, even though the per month charge is an excellent rate and unlimited. But yes, it will remain to be seen. I will tell you, I am on the list. I am waiting with bated breath to try out Starlink. My internet is just not working for me. And quite frankly, I'm getting sick of waiting, and I'm getting sick of the bills. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Jen. Anybody else? No. Okay, Merv. Merv.
Yeah.
Merv, buddy.
Yes. I tell everybody, I had an old buddy drop in last week who's all kinds of information on ATVs and snowmobiles. And he says the reason they don't want ATVs with tracks on them on the highways is because they're putting studs in the tracks so that they can climb icy hills like snowmobiles can. And studs aren't allowed on our provincial highways. So I think that's what the problem is studs on the tracks. Now we all know that studs have been on snowmobile tracks for years and years, and nobody has really got excited about it. Now he says, and this is for Jen, he said Hastings County has passed a resolution that you can use them probably on county roads. So maybe this is something that wants to be discussed at the county. I can see this getting into a whole kettle of fish, if you will. If the county says, yeah, but this township says no, and this township says yay, and it's just a mess. But that's apparently why, because they're putting studs in the tracks.
We can't overrule the provincial orders, Merv, and that's why I wanted to put a resolution forward, because we can't make anything less or more inclusive than what the province already allows. So as far as it goes, if they have it set up that it's province wide, I don't think we can
I don't think we can.
make it any easier. We can't relax the laws. We can increase them. So, go ahead there, Jen.
Thanks. I didn't realize the tracks had studs on them.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys, this is not my wheelhouse. But okay, that's new information, but I didn't realize that.
The thing is, one thing, if I may there, Merv, I had a good discussion with, I found out from the OPP through Annette in research on this, and by law, they have to be on the shoulder of the road or in the ditch. So as far as it goes, the studs actually being on the road surface, they're not supposed to be there anyway. So on the untraveled portion of the road is where these tracked vehicles and snowmobiles are supposed to be at any times regardless. So as far as it doing any damage to the road surface, the only place that you will see that is where the snowmobile trails actually cross the road. If you notice when you go through by Foodland, the studs and the carbides, they're gouging, and I can, believe me, I have a 16,000 pound front end suspension on my truck. I feel every place they pass across the road. So I can tell you everyone from here to Englehart. So as far as it goes for the on the surface, they're not to be there regardless. The issue, you know, what I seen presenting itself was just the ice fishermen or something trying to safely park their vehicle off to the side of the road and use it in the ditch, because theoretically that 30 some feet from the center of the road to the shoulder is still road allowance. And with the track on that side, you are not allowed to do that with your ATV or your Argo, but your snowmobile you are. So with that being said, that's the push on my end. It's just so, you know, for the most part, and you're going to get an exception to every circumstance. You're going to get somebody that decides to, you know, take off and go for a drive from here to Tijuana, maybe with an Argo for an adventure. But for the most part, it's just so somebody can safely park their vehicle on the side of the road, get their trailer off the main highway, and get to where they're going. That's my reason for, you know, bringing that
But
up.
I think, Brent, you weren't talking about overriding provincial roads. I think they were talking about allowing them on county roads. I don't know.
I think with the OPP's legislation, they still apply on the county roads, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Anybody else want to?
Highway Traffic Act is the Highway Traffic Act.
That's it. So.
Thanks.
Anyway.
Hey, Kim, Mr.
Okay.
Chair,
Yes.
were we really done with my report? Did nobody have anything else?
No, we're good there, Jen. So if I see some giggles and stuff there. Anyway, yeah. So if I can get somebody to adjourn this meeting. Hey, we got Merv to adjourn, and seconded by Jen, and all in favor. Oh, wait, media session. Sorry, I can't do this just yet. Media session, there is none. Hey, look at here. It's been a long day. Next meeting date. Next meeting date is February the 16th. Okay, so back to Merv has adjourned the meeting, seconded by Jen, and everybody is in favor. There we go. Okay.
So now
have a good day.
We're logging out and we're logging in at 4 for EG budget. Is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
And there's that. And remember, everybody, there's a new passcode for that one.
New what?
It's a different meeting, right? Yeah.
A different meeting and a different login number.
Yes.
See you then.